Hey guys, I want to show you this pretty wild Genie lift that's going on, because I got the new 51 foot step deck. Pretty freaking cool trailer, brand new. This is the third load on it. So let's take a look at what's going on. They drove it on, and I wish I could have got some video of them driving it on, but then the guy had to hang in there with a safety strap and tilt the basket, and he was in the basket at the time. That's where the controls are. So it was kind of like a carnival ride for him. So it was pretty cool. And in the background you see I-90 going westbound. So we are in Missoula, Montana, and that's Highway 200. That goes to my house. About 140 miles, but still. Still some snow in the mountains. You can just barely see, just a little bit on the tips up top there. I'll just do a panorama, and then we'll go look at the load. You got to have some scenery, man. Used to be a Freightliner, and they moved it down the road. They bought the property, and they relocated. Peterbilt's across the road. So Meralt's Travel Plaza's over there. And there's another truck stop across the highway. So there's three big ones. This is the huge, they have one in Bonner, but they got the new Flying J Pilot and Lucky Little Town Pump, all the same thing now up here for Montana. And it's brand new and plenty of parking. So let's look at this Fontaine trailer. This is just freaking cool. And this load. I'll show you what I did. You see it's got plenty of room on the side. No problem there. I've got rubber padding with carpeting around my chains. I made sure that it was a complete wrap. So I'm taking one chain, making it into two with separate binders. I'm using the quick binder here, and so it has 4 points pulling away. The X fashion, I suppose, you know, that's what a lot of times what they want, but for me that's just too much flex on the chain, and I chose to do it this way because you're still going to get the same kind of pull. And what I did was I added 2 extras. I crawled underneath and fed these. As you can see, they're tight as a drum, and they do go straight through. You see on the other side, and I don't know if you can see up underneath there. I hope this camera records kind of dark, so you know. One of the other problems I had, so I bought some other extra winches, some remote winches, but I just figured out that on this trailer you can remove one of the bolts and then take a winch from the other side, bring it back over here, put it on there, and replace it. Now I won't be able to slide my axles with this in place. Obviously that's a restricted area for winches, but I can undo the bolt and pop it off there. But I had to have a winch because I have to hold this basket in place. There's padding underneath it. This is hollow tubing. You can't have anything over it. Just can't. You have to go where they have a hard steel surface that's like heavy plate and welded, and it was right through there. Now there's some cabling, but there's 2 wires also that you cannot see. I had to follow my strap up through. I doubled over my carpet padding, or my furniture pad, and made sure that it had lots of coverage so there was no abrasion. I'm not stripping the paint. This is going to be a rental, and yeah, it's going to get the crap beat out of it, but when they get it, they paid for a new machine. They don't want it all beat to rat when they get it. So that's the whole deal. You got to take care of business. And I pulled backwards slightly to kind of keep that thing in place. It's just right at the edge overhang is fine, but for me personally, I didn't want it extending beyond the bumpers. That's just me. Just in case I park somewhere and some van driver comes up and it gets a little too close and he bumps my trailer. I don't think he'll hit it, but I think about this stuff, and you have to as well. There's another view. Now when they went on, you could see the trailer flex at the tire points. When the tire was rolling, you could see the trailer bow right where it was driving on. They had a dock that was just dead level with my trailer. It was not a problem. Leaving the extra chain up in here, it's not going to go anywhere. I didn't have enough to make a chain wrap. Kind of like on the other side where I always tie my chains in knots. Now it's interesting here, I had chain pockets, but what I had to do is I tried to look at the line and get the straightest pull that I could find. And that includes feeding up and over. So actually I'm across several welds. And this is it's a new style of side rail. So if you look, and I would normally say welds when I come to think about it, but there is welds here. But all this is one piece bolted down. So you don't have near the strength issues, and it's really good, because DOT is going to know that that is a lot stronger than a welded position put together from pieces. It's all, milled. It's actually milled on a machine. The CNC machine made that stuff. That's pretty wild. Now the bolts in these tires, when I first saw one, I was just kidding the guys. I said, man, somebody's going to be really mad. They're going to have they got a bolt in the tire that's going to be flat. No, it's a solid rubber tire. One of the things you want to ask when you get this stuff is this thing secure from rotation? So I'm going to show you another thing that I found out on the other side. And you can see the pin. Pin up here. But also there's lights on here. And when they put it on, they left the main ignition on. And the lights were flashing. I went, no, wait a minute. So I went and asked the loader. I said, what's up? And he said, well, I have to come in there. I'll take care of it. And he hopped up, turned the key to the 0, took the key off, zip tied it to the emergency shut off or the stop switch. You can see right up there. And that key is zip tied in. And that's what I wanted to know. Now they do have other controls here that a person can turn off the basket controls, make all the movements. I've had to mess with these before at auction places, but tell you the truth, folks, I don't want to drive this on here. I just don't. There's too much liability. I'd rather have the loaders there work on it. Let them take care of business. They're the ones that have the experience, and I'd rather not be the one driving it on there. So ask that question if you go to like an auction place. That's one place where you're going to run into an issue, because they're going to expect the driver to get in there, dock yourself, go find the piece of equipment, drive it over to your trailer and load it yourself. If you don't know how to operate this stuff, then you're in a pickle. They'll sometimes help you, but I've run into issues, and I've stopped doing some of those auction items like that before certain unnamed auction houses. Just simply because, first of all, they didn't order a big enough trailer. This was years ago, and I couldn't get all the arms and stuff on, and they wanted a pickup truck put on it too, and they were screaming at me because I couldn't fit it on there. And I said, well, here's the tape, have fun. And they needed a 53 flat or step. So it isn't always the driver's fault. They always like to kick the driver because they think they can. But if you are forewarned about potential issues, make sure you ask the questions, then you've relieved yourself to a certain point of any other liability or problems with the load. You can try and do everything you can to make sure that this, like a piece of equipment like this, gets to where it needs to go, but you do need to ask questions. Pretty neat. I really like it. I like this trailer. It's a heck of a lot better than the other one I had. I had lots of room, but he pulled it up to here, and I checked my drive scale, which I have a readout gauge in my tractor, and I estimate I was 1,000 over on my drive. So he moved it up about 3 feet, 4 feet back, and took the basket to the maximum, right to the edge. And I looked, and I had plenty of room for fuel. And when I went over a scale last night, I had about 3,500 pounds to spare. So he moved it plenty. I don't mind. It's just an air gauge. It's hard to tell unless you have a more incremental gauge. It gives you a little bit better. For me, I have it marked from a old scale ticket, where I have to pretty much just give a rough guesstimate. If I know that if I'm over on my drive and I move it back and get it legal, then my spread axle is fine. Remember, spread axle, 20,000 per, 40,000, 34 max here, and 12 in the front on most standard ideas. But from my axle rating, my tires and everything like that is higher, because I do have a 15,000 pound axle, but it's not just the axle rating, it's the tire itself. So you have to have the tire that meets the weight rating. Well, I'll give you guys another look. Lots of controls, lots of business. That's about it. So I'm going to get on down the road. I'm going down to Mississippi to a rental place, and we'll get this thing squared away and get out of here. Quick look at my home state, and I got to roll. I wish I could just turn left and go home, but oh well. It's just the way it is. It's pretty nice. $112 miles south of Kalispell. That's it. Well, we'll see you on the road.